Well, those were not the best readings for me to be imagining what I was going to do with $1.2 billion when I won the Mega Millions. But apparently, God didn't like my plan. I told God I'd give it all away. 1.2 billion, I'll give it all away. But he wants you to keep contributing here at Francis Cabrini, because with 1.2 billion, we'd never have to take up a collection again. And we could do all our projects, and everything would be great, and we could help poor people, and we fix things in the third world. It would all be great. But God said, no, they have to contribute, so I lost. I only got one number. Out of all those numbers, only one was even close. But, oh well. That's what the gospel was about, right? I can't be storing up treasures here like Mega Millions, $1.2 billion winning. I think you have to be careful how you hear the reading, because it's really not the 1.2 billion that's the problem. The problem is what's going on inside of us with the 1.2 billion or whatever the treasure is. The whole thing starts out kind of weird. The gospel today doesn't give us what happened right before that, but Jesus is preaching, and there are thousands of people there, so many people that they're trampling on each other, the gospel says. There's thousands there. And he's preaching about his going to Jerusalem and suffering. And he's preaching about that you and I, his followers, will suffer as well. He's talking about the cost of discipleship. And in the midst of while he's preaching that about suffering, about going to the cross, that all of us need to be doing that, this bozo shouts out, "Hey, tell my brother to give me my share of the inheritance." I think, are you not listening? Or did you not pay any attention to what Jesus has just been talking about? He's so caught up in his own little struggle that he's not listening to anything Jesus is saying. He just wants somebody to give him, in his mind, justice. Now, most likely, if he's asking Jesus for this, he's a younger son. You might remember the story of the prodigal son. He took his share, which for the younger son was always less. So he probably wanted an equal share. And so he was demanding justice. And then Jesus uses it as an opportunity. Well, first of all, he really tells the guy to go away. We get a nicer translation than what's in the original, because Jesus probably didn't call him bozo, but he also probably didn't call him friend, which is what our friend. The translators have softened it, because the original just is like man. Hey, you. That's not my job. Not my job to be the judge in some inheritance dispute. And then he goes on to teach. Now, perhaps the guy had a real complaint. That's not what Jesus deals with. But if he had come forward and said, "My brother and I are having a dispute," or I feel really bad about my relationship with my family right now, then perhaps Jesus would have done something, because Jesus comes as reconciler, not as a divider. He's not a judge who's going to divide brother against brother, but he'd be willing to help the guy be reconciled. But then he goes on to teach about the problem that is there for probably most of us. And that problem is things or life or whatever we find important gets in the way of our relationship with God. It's how we see those things. Most of us are probably not that distant from ancient peoples who carved little images and worshiped them. We might think we're really sophisticated, but all of us tend to put other things in the way of God, like this. We put maybe our comfort, our security, our future, all those things become more important than God. We don't trust God. And so we put all of our emphasis on filling it in with those things. And then Jesus goes on to tell this famous story of a guy who has a problem. And the problem in his mind is that he has a bountiful harvest. He is blessed. He's already rich, Jesus says, and now he's even richer. He has a lot of blessing. So he thinks that's the problem. The problem is he can't see what the blessing is for. He thinks the blessing is for him. And if you listen to his thought patterns there, it's all about me. I, all the way through. What am I going to do? He even is such a lonely man that in the end, Jesus says, he talked to himself and said to himself, he doesn't even have a friend to talk to. Hey, look at all the corn I got. No. He talks to himself. And he says to himself, relax, enjoy, eat, drink, be merry, I don't know with whom. But life is now great because I have so much. His problem is he only sees himself. He doesn't see anybody else or what those blessings are for. And what Jesus has been teaching is that all the blessings God gives us, all the treasures we have, all the abilities, all those kind of things, are not for us. Yes, they benefit us. Yes, we are blessed by them. They're not for you. They're for others. They're for the community. They are gifts given to you by God, gifts that are to be shared. Yeah. It's a common problem that we don't trust God enough. We can't seem to let go. So we should probably figure out little practices that help us to trust God. And then to be in that trusting, free to experience life as God intended it to be, not to be greedy, not to be idolatrous, but to truly let God be God and us be us, his children, blessed, always blessed. So little practices, like letting God be in control once in a while instead of you, giving something away, letting God do the work instead of you. That's why God didn't let me win the Mega Millions. So you could always have the practice of keeping this community going through your generosity.